Welcome in to another new podcast from the Association for Materials Protection and Performance. My name is Ben Dubose, and I'm a staff writer with Coatings Pro magazine and with Materials Performance magazine. Today, as we continue our Coatings Pro interview series, talking to various experts within the protective coatings industry, we're joined by Tony Maracic, Vice President at Champion Painting Specialty Services. If that name sounds familiar, it might be because there's a feature article at coatingspromag.com right now titled The Bridge to Tribeca, Recoating a Pedestrian Connection in New York City, which spotlights one of their recent marquee projects. So to get some more perspective on that project, as well as other tips and tricks in the world of coatings contractors, I'm happy to welcome Tony to the show. Tony, good morning. How are you?
Very good. And you?
Cannot complain at all. Glad to be on with you. And I think a good place to start, Tony, if you could just introduce yourself, your role at Champion, and tell our listeners a little bit more about your experience in the industry.
My name is Anthony Maracic. I've been in the industry now for 38 years. I started as an apprentice back in 1983, worked my way up to journeyman, foreman, superintendent, and in 1990, my father and I started our own company. We thought it would be easy, but unfortunately it wasn't. Between the bonding and financing, we found it very difficult, and we ended up merging with a much larger commercial company. And I was there for 25 plus years before joining Champion about 4 years ago. My role with Champion is I'm in charge of all the road and bridges throughout the Northeast, and now heading towards west as well. So all the bridge painting, overpasses, structures are all fall under my team.
If you could,
the Tribeca Bridge was one of the first projects that we received when I joined Champion. It was a project that was bid numerous times, but it was never awarded. One of the main reasons we felt it wasn't awarded, logistically, it was kind of a nightmare, because the main purpose or the main function of that bridge is to provide safe access for the children that attend Stuyvesant High School. So from going from the east side of the West Side Highway over to the high school. Now, the West Side Highway is basically a highway in the middle of Manhattan, or I should say on the west side of Manhattan, where you have speeding traffic, you got trucks, buses. So that was one of the challenges, along with the height restriction of the bridge itself. Clearance was an issue because you had truck traffic that was going up and down the West Side Highway, which would supply supplies through Manhattan. So when it came out again, my team and I sat down and we said we had to come up with a way. Previously, we were looking at rapid deployment. I guess everybody else was as well. And we knew we had to come up with a platform, some type of platform that we can perform the work and still allow traffic to flow and to keep the job on schedule. Doing it lane by lane under a 5-hour closure would probably take 2 years.
Oh, God.
So what we did was I contacted Dave Pasucci, who is the engineer, the chief engineer for SafeSpan.
Okay.
And we sat down, and another challenge on that project is it's a tubular structure, which, according to Davey, really doesn't support a lot. But putting his head and his team and our team together, we came up with a tube system that we were able to attach to the underside of this bridge, which only reduced the clearance by 6 inches. And that allowed us to build off of that platform and then continually work uninterrupted while traffic continued to flow. At that point, we knew we were getting into winter months.
Sure.
So now we had to come up with another plan. So the specification and the surface prep was an SP3 with a spot SP11.
Okay.
Which your containment system is basically a Class 3P containment. We knew that wasn't going to work, so we brought our engineer down and we came up with a design to enclose the entire bridge in a Class 1A containment.
Okay.
That would allow us to introduce heat as needed. It also would allow us to put in air filtration, because once we started spraying, it was an epoxy coating with a urethane top coat.
Yeah.
Which does have a nice odor to it. Now, this building being attached to a high school, that was another challenge. So by encapsulating the entire bridge and able to put in airflow, we minimized the odor that was going into the school and the kids walking through the pedestrian walkway.
How did you guys overcome the seasonality concerns of it? Because I'm sure a lot of people that are listening are thinking New York City in the winter months, and of course you can read the article Bridge to Tribeca at coatingspromag.com for more about it. But you mentioned the system that you guys set up, the enclosure apparatus. How did that play into keeping the area warm enough to where you could coat in New York in the winter?
We didn't expect to have such a harsh winter as we did.
Okay.
But our engineer, when she designed our outrigger system, which was used to attach the tarps to, we used double layer airbag material, which was strong enough and thick enough to hold the heat in place.
Okay.
And what we brought over were 3 units, 1,000,000 BTU each. And we pumped it in to the entire containment. And we were able to maintain 55 to 60 degrees during the entire operation. And outside, the temperature was in the teens.
That's pretty impressive.
We didn't expect it to drop that because we got spoiled for the last few winters prior. The lowest it got was in the 30s, 40s. So we figured we were fine. And what made it a little more difficult was the specification called for, as I said, an SP3 and an SP11.
Yeah.
And we had to scarify the entire surface because the paint was on there since the bridge was erected, and I think that was early 80s. So they weren't sure what the condition of the steel was. We knew it was bad, but there were some areas that were still intact. So part of our plan was to hit the entire structure with a 5,000 PSI power washer with a turbo tip on it. Now, what this would do is scarify the entire surface as well as uncover any unsound coatings. So when we were done, it almost looked like it was a total removal project. That's how bad the paint was. The paint was just hanging on.
Jeez.
When the owner came in, they were kind of shocked. Shocked and pleased.
Yeah.
Because if we would have followed the specification, all we would have done was go up there and abrade the surface and overcoat it. And in a short period of time, all that paint would have fell off. So that was a godsend. And it also helped us, and it sped up the production. And it turned it into a much better job than anticipated.
Had they done other overcoat jobs you said this was built in the mid to early 80s. Is the work they had done in the past, was that just sort of an overcoat, and that's what they were expecting you all to do as well?
They tried to, originally when it came out, they did specify some blasting the first few times. And their biggest fear, again, was they couldn't shut the bridge down because of the school.
Gotcha.
And that was the only access to the school.
Gotcha.
So they tried to change the spec to minimize the surface prep and to be able to continue to keep the school open. They ended up getting almost a complete paint removal anyway, which worked out in their favor. There were, on both sides of the bridge were these staircases, tremendous staircases which provided access up to the bridge, which was another challenge because we couldn't shut them down. And yet they were 20% of the steel was on the staircases and it needed the same surface prep.
Yeah.
So what we had to do is during Christmas week, while the school was closed, we pipe scaffold around the entire entryway on both sides, pumped in heat, and did the total removal and reapplication of the coating just in time for the kids to come back to school. So that was another challenge that we had, and the owner happened to be a really good owner to work with. They were an active partner in the project, which made it real good because as we came up with new ideas, they were very receptive to the change. Where in some cases, a specification is a specification and the owner expects you to follow it regardless.
Yeah.
But this owner was really good, and they realized the challenges that we had and they had, and it turned out to be done way ahead of schedule.
Yep. And
the product came out a lot better than anticipated by the owner.
It sounds like from your perspective, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like that arguably the biggest part of this was that sort of enclosure device that you put together, because without that you would have run into the same limitations that we've talked about historically with not being able to truly do that kind of prep. Is that a fair assessment, that basically that unique apparatus that you put together with SafeSpan was sort of the key to making this all work?
Yeah, it was. It was between SafeSpan and our engineer. So what we do, see, Champion, the way we work, we have a tremendous team with so much experience. Every time we get a job, regardless of what it is, and once we are notified that we are the low bidder and we are getting the job, I bring my entire team down, which is my scaffold installers, my containment guys, my engineer, and we look at the job and I explain how I looked at it and what I envisioned, and they take that and they look at it and they find ways to make it better, make it safer, make it easier. And I'd love to take the credit for this, but I have two guys that work for me, and we call them the dynamic duo. The two brothers, Anthony and Milan Ivankov. And they've been with me for about 35 years.
Yeah.
These guys are tremendous. And they had the foresight to see this. They had the foresight to see the winters coming in and how we can do this without any interruption. Between them, my chief estimator, Tom Brennan, who is tremendous, and our engineer, they put all this together and they came up with this plan, and it turned out to be the right way to do it.
So roughly, how big is Champion and where are you all based?
Our home base is in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Okay.
We have offices in New York. We have an office in Alaska. We have an office in Indiana. We just opened an office in Guam.
Okay.
We are in the process of opening an office in Georgia. We have grown I would say, since I'm here going on 4 years, we've kind of doubled our business almost every year.
Yep.
But we've doubled our business in a very strategic way. Champion believes in people, employees, team members. And as we are able to get new team members to join us, that's how we grow our business. Some companies buy other businesses. We grow within. We find good people that want to come on board, whether they're epoxy floor people, and then we'll bring them on board and we'll start that type of business. Everything is done within. We're a complete team-oriented business. Our offices interact daily. So that's what makes Champion what it is today, our team.
How much does the past experience on those types of jobs, you mentioned that you have a particular emphasis on roads and bridges, how much does that sort of help ease the fear of clients? Because obviously there's a million things that they're trying to balance. They want to get the best performance on that bridge, but then there's the traffic, the logistics, all those other things. How much does your past experience on these types of projects sort of play in? I mean, I know there's a bidding process and everybody wants the best bang for their buck, but how much does your past experience and the fact that you can point to, say, I guess for a future project, you can point to the Tribeca Bridge and say, hey, look, this is something that I've done successfully. How much does that sort of help you in getting these jobs?
It does help getting pre-qualified for these
Hmm.
projects.
Yeah.
On this particular job, they called in the low three bidders. We
Okay.
had no idea in what order we were, and we were asked to make a presentation on how we were going to perform this job, handle all the challenges with the schools, the traffic,
Hmm.
and we sat down there and we gave our presentation. And after each company gave their presentation, we were notified that not only were they accepting us with our price, but they really felt very comfortable with our plan going forward and the experience of our team. So for this particular job, I think my experience and my team's experience was very helpful in securing this project.
By the way, to sort of close the loop on the Tribeca Bridge, so I believe they went with a polyurethane top coat, right?
Yes.
So why was that the choice in terms of the coating solution? Why did that make the most sense for that particular environment?
So the paint system was a spot epoxy,
Hmm.
full coat of epoxy, and a urethane top coat.
Hmm.
The bridge sits right in the center of the West Side Highway where the sunlight is, it's
Gotcha.
in sunlight all day long. And with the urethane and the UV protection, it was the right choice for that bridge.
Hmm.
Now, of course, the protective is all in the epoxy coatings. And with the amount of paint that came off, they actually received two full coats of epoxy, and then with the urethane top coat, which gave it the retention of the color and the protection against the UV.
And I assume the client's feedback, you touched on this earlier, but it sounds like the feedback has been pretty positive. I mean, how is it holding up? And I guess how long has it been since you all did that project?
We started it in October of 2018, and we
Okay.
completed it in April of 2019.
So how's it holding up in the 2 years since?
Besides the fact that it's a white bridge
Hmm.
and it gets a little dirty,
Sure.
looks like it was done yesterday.
Wow.
And the client was extremely, extremely happy. They actually asked us if we did any other work besides painting because they would love for us to get involved with more of their projects.
Hmm.
So that was a nice compliment.
So as we wind down the podcast, I want to transition to what we do, these rapid fire questions with our guests to perhaps just shed some more light on your story, but also it might be relatable to another contractor listening. So, Tony, I think a good place to start, earlier we talked about sort of your experience in the industry. How did you get started off down this path? Did you always know that you wanted to go into painting? What was it that sort of early in your career put you down this particular road?
My father was a bridge painter. While I was starting college, I fell in love,
That'll do it.
wanted to get married, and needed a full-time job with benefits. And how I convinced my father to take me on as an apprentice with him. And that was some 38 years. Well, I'm sorry, it was 40 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And needless to say, I never got married to that young lady. And I ended up marrying into the business.
Oh, there you go. So you've been doing this 40 years. What's your
Yep.
favorite what's your favorite project over that time, or do you have one for that matter?
Uh, the 59th Street Bridge that connects the borough of Queens into Manhattan. It
Okay,
was a bridge that was bid in 2004.
gotcha.
It's the largest paint contract ever bid and awarded in the country. It was a $167 million paint job. It was for 8 million square feet
Hmm.
of complete SB10 and a three-coat system. It had towers. It had the interior of the towers. It had
Wow.
trusses. It had flat steel. It had everything that we work on in this industry in one project.
Hmm.
It was a 5-year job. I did the project. I ran the project right to the very end. And it's one of my pride and joys.
How long did it actually take to execute? I know you said 5 years. How long did it take you guys?
project. We finished it probably, it took 4.5 years, and
Okay.
then again, punch lists and sign offs, and
Sure.
8 million square feet is a lot of square feet.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. No, but I mean, it's good that you finish ahead of schedule, just like the Tribeca Bridge. I know y'all finished a couple of months early on that. I'm sure, sort of the cherry on top of the sundae in a lot of these jobs is if you get out of there early, right?
Yeah, and the beauty is we were working for New York City DOT,
Yep.
who is also a very active partner in their projects,
Hmm.
helped expedite the submittal process, changes. It was a team effort. And when there's a team effort between the owner and the contractor and the consultant, it just makes things move a lot quicker, and it gives for a much better project.
And then the last one I've got for you, you've been doing this 40 years. You've had a lot of lessons over that time. Any advice for somebody new to the industry that's listening right now as far as how they should potentially start off their careers?
The best advice I ever received was steal everything with your eyes and your ears and listen to everybody, because even the apprentice on the project could have the right idea.
I think that's a great perspective. Folks, as we wind down with Tony Maracic, Tony, anything else you want to add as far as, I guess it can be your own thoughts, the Tribeca Bridge project? If anyone listening has questions for you or for Champion, how can they potentially get in touch with you guys?
Well, our website is www.championssc.com, and our phone number is area code 954-462-9079.
Sounds good. Folks, this is where we will leave things on today's episode. For Tony Maracic, I'm Ben Dubose. If you want more information from us, you can check out the AMP website at ampp.org. And of course, you can visit coatingspromag.com. Tony just gave you the website for Champion if you want to learn more about what they do. With that, we'll sign off. Thanks as always for listening, and please come back soon for another new podcast episode from the Coatings Pro interview series.
Calling all coatings contractors, we have a great resource for you. Coatings Pro magazine provides you with the latest news, trends, and technologies for your coating needs. And the best part, it's completely free to anyone who signs up. Simply visit coatingspromag.com/subscribe. Coatings Pro, know what the pros know.